the truck behind me is an '08 Ram 2500. The bumper that's sitting on it now is a Ram 1500 from 2015. Let's see how we got it to fit. Alright, on today's agenda, got a bit of a challenge. I don't think it's too big of a challenge, but one nonetheless. So I've got what I think is a 2008 Ram 2500, and the customer wants a custom bumper, sort of. They brought in a Warren winch ready bumper. It's a pretty nice bumper. I think he got a pretty good deal on it, and it just ended up being the way we decided to go, is just to mod the bumper he found. So there's a problem. It is for a Dodge, but it's for a 2009 current Ram 1500. So a lot of variations in it, a lot of modding that we're gonna have to do. So I'm gonna pan over and do a couple shots of the bumper, kind of go over some details of what we're gonna have to change.
So obviously the trucks are a lot different. Like, almost goes without even saying. One of the biggest things is how the back side of the headlight ties into the fender. So before I can even start a mock-up, I'm gonna have to cut off that ear at the very least. Now, one thing that you're also gonna notice is that the height from the bottom of the headlight to the bottom of the grille is about 2 inches. And it's about 4, maybe 5 on this bumper. I don't want to just randomly add sort of like a fence on the back here. I don't think that'd be a very attractive way to go. So once I have that ear on the corner cut off, I plan on mocking it up and seeing about how much we're going to take off here. I think we're going to go ahead and cut Alright, so I think the place to start is really going to be working with the measurements off of the mounting locations. As it turns out, it does mount or locate 2 of the bolt holes in the plate of the bracket here. Now, I could start from scratch and re-engineer new brackets. Unfortunately, I'm short on time and I'm short on material on this one. So what I'm going to do is end up modifying this one. I'm going to have to do that because it only locates the 2 bolts here. 2 would be outside here. One of them interferes, and 2 bolts per side is just not going to cut it to support this bumper, especially for it to be winch ready. So because I'm short on material and time, I'm going to modify these brackets to meet the factory bumper brackets. One other option would be to make a bracket that adapts this bracket to the bumper brackets, but I'm never a fan of brackets on brackets on brackets. It's just ridiculous. So I'm gonna cut this apart, pretty much modify it. What I'm gonna only have to do, it's pretty simple, and the only reason I'm doing it is because it's relatively simple, is basically I gotta cut this plate off here, move it over about 3 inches, and it gives me a great location for new mounting locations on these brackets on this setup ready to go. Once I have that situated, I'm gonna be able to use that as a measuring point from there on out. I think I'm gonna pretty much go straight at cutting down the bumper height from that point on, but I want basically my 0 point to be here, something that's gonna be fixed. Unfortunately, I don't have jack stands tall enough to hold it in place and mock up from there, so this has to be where I start, where normally I think I would have fit the bumper to the truck first and then made brackets from scratch. That would have probably been a good way to go, but I can't find jack stands big enough, at least where I live. It's a small town. There's not a really good tool supply place. I called around a bunch of places. Just not gonna happen. So has to change the plan a little bit. So we're gonna start with brackets and then work on fitting from there. So we'll get cracking. So this is the bracket off the 09 to current Ram 1500. Pretty beefy, and it'd be a shame to get rid of any of this or to have to sort of re-engineer it. I have a pretty good option of just cutting all of the welds off here and moving the bracket over about 3 inches. It's going to give me all the room and all the surface I need to use some of the bolt holes here and to drill and mount new ones. So. Alright, so second day on the Ram bumper conversion project. Made a decent amount of progress last night. Got the brackets all modified and ready to mount up to the 08 truck. So we got 2015 bumper brackets modified, mounted to an 08 Ram. Now the next step is actually getting the shape of the bumper itself to fit the truck. So I'm gonna show you some of the progress from last night and get to cutting and fitting the bumper now. Alright, so now that the brackets are all modified and mounted to the truck, the only thing keeping this from being mounted at this point is this rise here in the bumper. My next step is that I'm going to basically put a straight edge here, measure it down so I know what this height is exactly, and I'm going to try to match that to the truck as much as possible, so that way I know exactly how much I need to go and cut across the front of the bumper here to get it to fit to the truck. Having the brackets modified now, I can also use that measurement off the bumper here to kind of adjust the height as well. So that's the last bit, keeping it off the truck. Alright, everything's all measured and taped up, basically showing the cut lines as best and as accurate as I can get it. Gives me still a lot of room if I made some mistake to adjust up and down. There's a lot of adjustment on the factory brackets. So I think we're pretty much at the point that we can just start cutting away. So I'm gonna crack out a grinder and get at it.
Well, the truck's done. It's been picked up. Customer's loving it. Now that all the fun stuff's done, that's on to the exciting part, cleaning the mess behind me. So, I appreciate everybody who's watching this video. I'm looking forward to making more videos and better ones as time goes on. So, subscribe if you like. I'm sure it's going to get better as time goes on.